Okay. It's just me and Julie. Hello? The computer decided that it did not want to play today, so I had to reboot it. Glad you got another coffee, Julie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for hanging in there, everybody. Good grief. I even made sure that my computer was all working earlier. Didn't see any problems. And of course, just as I say, go live, it acts all squirrely. So, how are you today? What's been going on in your world? I went to a retreat. It wasn't a planned um, activity thing other than we planned out who was going to make each meal. That was the only thing that was really planned. So the idea was as you brought your projects, whatever it is that you wanted to work on. There was ladies that were making scrapbook pages, some that were crocheting, one was painting. I did my junk journal stuff. So we had a variety of things, and I had a goal of trying to organize and make a few things. And one of those I made was a couple of small journals, and I thought I would show you how I made those. Other things that I worked on was I updated some elements inside this little blue journal that I made a while back. It had a few pages that weren't finished yet. Another thing I did was I had a bunch of fabric scraps. Hey, hey, hey! So glad to have you here. I had a bunch of fabric scraps, and this could also be done with paper scraps, but I decided to lay out a bunch of squares that were at least bigger than some pre-stamped and watercolored butterflies that I had. So I just kind of laid out a few, not a whole lot. I was just playing around with the different patterns that I had. This was a little scrap that I put on top of tickets to kind of see what it would look like. This was just a piece of denim that I had. And actually, it's more like canvas, not denim. That I put some stuff on. Hey, paper lover, glad to have you here. This was fabric on paper. So that's got 2 layers of fabric. So it was just, trying to play around with some of the things that I already have. Hey, Linda, welcome. Trying to use up some stuff. Some other things I did was I made a few journal cards. I had some images that were already cut that were laying around, and I just kind of played around with some gel print scraps. I had some cardstock scraps that were scrapbooking paper, images from one of Norella's kit. I think this was a card that somebody gave me. This is a piece from a journal kit, and I just added the word journal. You know, this is a piece of canvas, again, with a image from Calico Collage. So it was just kind of using up, like this was a card that somebody gave me, or I made, I don't know which, and because it doesn't really show all that. So I just add "Don't Forget to Fly." There's an envelope that was in there. And just kind of stamping, layering, adding a little bit. Some of them I really didn't go overboard as far as decorating them was concerned. Mainly my goal was just to kind of make something, and maybe this could be one of those projects that when I want to embellish a little bit more, maybe I want to add some bling or flowers. Some of these I could add some words. I could do that. Another thing I did was I stamped a bunch of word phrases so I would replenish my word phrase envelope. It's not full yet. It's not completely replenished, but I did a few. I also got out the, I'm going to call them the apothecary stamps. They're all the different plants that have the words with it, and I had some coffee dyed paper, so I thought it would just be kind of fun to stamp a few of these out. I distressed the edges, so these are ready to paste onto something else. If I want, I could come in and color on the pieces. I also had some stamp sets from, I think this was from Tim Holtz. Experience is not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you. And then this one, life is what happens to you while we are making other plans. So they're just some little stamped images. I had some, it's another one, I think that's like, it says needle book, that were from that same kit. This is my, I think I called it little sign. And I fussy cut a few of those out just to have them because I thought they might be fun to use. And these are like my little notepad, notebook paper, I think maybe is what I called it. And then these were just the little swirling notes. So I thought, you know, it's handy to have these things already stamped. And so they're ready to go. And that way, if I'm looking for a little something, I have it. And I decided just to put these because these were all coffee dyed together. Another thing I did with my fabric scraps is I made these little fabric snippets. So I ironed a bunch of fabric because it was really watered up, a messy mess. These were scraps that were left over from my projects, from friends' projects. People would give me scraps. So I had a little bit of everything. And I just started playing around with a piece of book page scrap, fabric. I did do some dyeing of some cheesecloth, so I used Tattered Angels to alter the color, and just kind of played around with, you know, the pieces that I had, trying to use up some of them. That's why they're different, because I was just trying different things throughout, and I thought these will be handy to use wherever I want in my projects. You know, maybe this will become a title page, or who knows. I just thought it would be fun to kind of make up a few things and have them ready to use. And then what else? I did, I had some green items that a while back I did the same thing with the fabric. I was playing around with my fabric pieces. I think if I just kind of lift this out. And I made some elements. So I had like journal cards. This was a little pocket. And so I just kind of kept playing around with the pieces that I had. Like I had these watercolor strips, and I had already kind of used pink on a couple other places. So I thought the pink and the green just really went well together. Kind of layering that up, adding some fabric. I put a little book page on the back to give it a little bit more body so it didn't flop over. And scrapbook paper, more fabric. Another one of those. This was a painted book page in the background, and I laid fabric and a few other pieces on there. So I've just kind of played around with what I had, and that was my goal, was to kind of use up some of the things. Like here's some more fabric that's ready to do something with in this green. I think I may end up making a green journal. I haven't done a whole green journal in a while. So that may be a project. While I was sorting through my tons of little bags and envelopes of scraps and whatnot, I tried to organize them by making a little label and then putting them in these little, I call them project envelopes, so that they would, oh no, spider, don't do that. So I could keep it all together, that I know what would work together. And I've got a little sorting box, kind of a stand-up thing. I'd like to get some more made. This was made out of a priority mailbox, and I just set it up to where I can set my things in here, and it keeps it all nice and neat. I had too many things everywhere, so I'm trying to work on some smaller projects. This is the biggest thing that I worked on, is I had all these purple, pink papers, and I decided to take a large piece of cardstock and cover it, kind of like that Franken style, and added pieces over the top. And then one of my friends that was at the retreat, I asked her if I could have a piece of paper. She gave me a piece of purple cardstock. And then I had a whole bunch of these pages. I'm still working on it. I haven't quite. So I did some Franken pages, and then I started adding little embellishments. Some I had already made, some I made on the spot. I did each page with a mop-up paper. You know, this was a page out of a book. I've got an eclectic bunch of pieces that I've put here, but I'm getting it all ready so that I can sit down when I'm in the mood and finish it all up. It's not necessarily any particular theme. It's just kind of an eclectic purple floral mixture, and I just made a little simple cover. I think that's all the pages I may put in it, because I don't want it to be super thick, and I haven't decided if I want to put a closure on it yet. But I do have a bunch of purple, pink papers that I can use, and again, I'll set that over here in my bin if I can get it in there. So that's just some of the things that I've been working on. Let's get started with making a journal. So what I did to make these journals was I took some book pages, and can we make out of our stash that, yeah, exactly, it's that, you know, it's all different types of ways to make things, you know, it just kind of depends on your mood. And oh, another thing that I did was I stamped a whole bunch of images to watercolor, and I've got those all ready so that I can sit down and do a watercolor session and refill my fussy cuts. All right, so I got a book page. You know, I chose it because I wanted to use something as the book base, cover base, but I didn't have a bunch of cardstock with me, and I did not have any chipboard with me. So I was trying to think of what could I use that I had and possibly share that with y'all. So a book page that I have here is approximately 8 1/4 by almost 11. It's like 10 3/4 of an inch. It doesn't matter. It's just whatever you have that you choose to use. Then I glued 2 of those together. I don't think you need to go through that. The next thing I did was I took this and I folded it in half. So I'll crease that. Then I used some glue. So I'm going to put some glue in here to glue this shut, to make it 4 thicknesses of book page. So it's not quite cardstock weight, but it's getting pretty thick. I'm going to use my bone folder. And it doesn't matter what these are. They could be anything. You've got some junk mail that you don't like, because we're going to cover it up. Thank you so much, Julie. There's all kinds of things that we can make, you know. I try to come up with different ideas, and then when I get bored of making that one particular thing, then I'll try something different. All right, so I had this piece, and I was looking through this stash of papers that I had. I was like, what am I going to do with all these papers? Some of them are pretty random. Maybe it was a gel print that didn't turn out perfect. It was unusual. I was trying to figure out how I was going to use it. And so I thought, well, I'll just grab some gel prints. What did I do with that? Oh, there it is. One moment. This is I haven't quite finished sorting pile. So I went through here and I thought, well, what kind of goes together? You know, what can I use as a cover on a journal? And I'm kind of thinking that these 2 papers would look really good. This could be a cover, and that could be the inside. So I grabbed 2 papers. Again, these are gel prints, but maybe you have some leftover scrapbook paper. You have some other painted papers. You know, it doesn't have to be any particular thing. Now, there is a direction to this. So I want to put this on here where this is going to be my cover. When it's folded in half, this will be the size of it. So I don't want to try to go this way. I want to go this way. And I want to cover this, pretending like it's a piece of chipboard, as I would on one of my large journals. So it's a mini journal, but to make it a little bit fancier in the cover aspect, not just a piece of paper folded in half, but something with a little bit of weight to it, I'm now going to glue this to the gel print. Oh, it's still not dry. You may need to heat it. I know there's some kind of papers that I have that I can stamp on it, and if I don't hit it with a heat tool, it'll smear and make a mess. Oh, that happened to me this past week. I was stamping on some painted papers, and they were the heavy body acrylic paint. Well, because it was a slick surface, the ink wasn't drying right away. So I ended up using my heat tool. I forgot I taped my paper cutter. Let's see if I can do this so that it wouldn't pop open, because mine will pop open if you turn it on its side. My old one had a locking mechanism on it, but not this one. All right, so I'm just going to trim. Yes, it is going to create a couple of scraps of paper, but only 2. I got rid of 2 big pieces, and I'm just going to pop that back into this bag, because who knows, I may find another use for it. Now I'm going to take this piece, and I like to fold in the corners, and I'll kind of score those. Yeah, if you grunge it up, you can kind of fix it. That's kind of what happened to me. It smeared, and I was like, oh, so what can I do? And thankfully, I was layering over the top of it, and then I used my distress tool, and then you couldn't see that it had been smeared. It was a nice trip, I guess you'd say. I left Thursday morning and stayed through Sunday afternoon. I came home. I was home at 3:47 p.m. and I enjoyed myself. One of my friends was staying an extra night. She was leaving today, so she should be on her way home now. It's different to get away and create, you know. I felt like I wanted to do things that I may not have taken the time to do while I was home. For example, like that big bag, that was a whole box. I condensed down a box to that bag, and the box all came out on those little folders that I showed you earlier at the beginning, the little pockets. And so I was able to kind of consolidate things that went together. I threw away a few things that I knew I would never use that were trash. You know, I did a lot of cleanup and organizing of things that I've had that I'm like, I need to do something with it. And that's where I decided, well, I'd show y'all these easy journals that we could make using our papers. Now I'm just going around the edges and just folding that in. Okay. And since this is acrylic paint, where the corners are, I'm just going to use the Beacon 3-in-1 glue. Well, the puppy is now Henry's. Dante doesn't want to sit with me. Before I left, he was sleeping in my lap. He wanted to know where I was the whole time, and now he's Henry's dog. I guess he's Henry's dog. Henry's outside with him right now. I heard him barking, heard the dog barking. So Dante's outside now and playing with Henry. I played with him a little bit this morning, and then yesterday when I got home, I did some training with him. So I didn't do a lot today with him other than just play, because I was trying to let him rest, and then I was also still unpacking from my trip. But Henry's outside playing with him, so I'll have to work with him some more. Little stinker. He's like, whatever, I'm going to go with Daddy. And if you didn't know, Dante Pooh is got a Facebook page now. I posted it on my personal Facebook page, but you're more than welcome to follow Dante in his antics. I've got to get a tripod put together to give to Henry because he likes to film the dog when he's running around. Okay, so there is the outside cover. And what I want to do next is I have a piece that I want to use for the inside. I'm trying to decide. I think something like that. So what I like to do is cheat. Is get a piece of paper, a pen, or pencil. Here we go. Pencil! And I'm going to line this up. And I want it just a little bit shorter over here. And a little bit shorter over there. Put the pencil back where I can find it and trim this off. Ah, thank you, Julie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm just going to trim this piece to fit on here. So that should fit like that. And again, yes, we did create two little pieces, but I feel like that is an accomplishment. And I can use those little pieces later to make some Franken pages. So I will eventually use it up. All right, now I'm going to take my Distress ink and just gently go around the edge. I re-ink my distressing ink pretty much every session that I'm going to create. So it may be once a week. It may be several times a week. All right, that looks good. Now, since I am gluing a little bit of acrylic paint and paper, I'm going to put a bead of the Beacon glue around that outside edge because that's touching acrylic painted paper. And sometimes you have to use a better glue, specialty glue for the job. necessarily better, just the appropriate glue to adhere the items. That's one thing that I will tell everybody is, what are you gluing together when they ask what kind of glue? And I said, well, each application is going to require something different. And it also is about what you prefer. I don't like using a lot of the beacon glue because I don't like the smell. It uses acetone in it. So I don't really like the smell, but it has really good adhesion and it doesn't tend to curl your paper. And if you don't mind the smell, then use it. I like using the Aleene's Tacky Glue because I feel it's very affordable. And for most of the time, it works just great. All right, so now I've got this piece. I'm going to let that dry, and let's find some papers to put inside. I also have this cover that I made out of some more gel prints. So I'm just going to lay both of them there. And I have an envelope. That are Mop-Up papers. Now, this is what I found. I'm going to lay this down so it doesn't fall over. This is what I found in all of those papers. You know, every time I would work on a journal, I a lot of times would make 2 or 3 mop-up papers because I wanted papers to match whatever I was working on. Maybe I was trying to make a couple of mop-up papers to go in a journal, and in the result I ended up making 2 or 3 extras just because I wanted a certain pattern, and I used the mop-up to clean up the tattered angels. So I have all these different gel prints. They're not all going to be usable for this project, but I wanted to kind of look at what I had here and maybe, oh, look here. Oh, but then the stars will be going the wrong direction. Okay, we're not going to use that one. Let's see what else I have here. I have a pink. Let's put a pink over there. And I guess I could cut one of these, cut this and make it this way. Maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll save it. Okay, what else we have here? That didn't really have anything on it. It looks like it's a Tattered Angels dyed page, but I like the color. What else we have in here? I'm trying to look at what this has going on. Oh, hey, Amanda, welcome. Okay. Oh, wow. Well, sometimes you need more rest, Julie. That's why you're on vacation, isn't it? Maybe I'll put that one just for variety. I'm going to do 3 pieces of paper. I wonder. I'm going to use this yellow. I think that'll be a good eclectic. Because I'm going to cut them in half, and it will be 6 pieces of paper folded in half. So I'll leave that there. So I need one more. What's this one? Let's use this one. I don't have any green in here. Let's see. I have this one. But that's more teal than green. Looking. Well, I could use that one. It's going to, you know, when I cut it in half, we're going to cut off part of this. I could do it where this is the top. All right, let's do that one instead of, I think instead of this one, because this kind of gives that same vibe with the funky patterns, where this one is a little more fancy. It's a lot more fancy. All right, put my papers down. All right, so Oh, I guess technically, if I cut this in half this way and then fold it, we'll have shorter papers. But that's okay. Let's do that. Yeah. So, I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4. Then I'm going to fold it in half where the center was of this for whatever reason. And then this one I know is the same size, so I'm going to go ahead and fold it just so I know how what size to make my pages that are going to go inside. So I want to cut this off to right about there. So that would be roughly 4 inches. So let's just cut that off at 4 inches. And that will fit. Yeah, that'll fit. Okay. So I need to cut this in half. Actually, I need to cut it at, I think it's 5 inches tall. Yeah. So if I cut this at, right, 5 inches. Yeah. So I'm going to cut here. At 5 inches. Get it straight. I'm going to cut 2 of them at the same time. Come on now. Cooperate. So that's 5 inches. I'm going to flip this around. Cut this piece. Okay. Then I'm going to fold this in half and cut this at 4 inches. And do the same with this one. Now you cut on the size that fits your journal cover, whatever your journal cover is. All right, then these I'm just going to fold together. And cut them. Okay. I'm not going to keep these little bitty slivers. They're 1/4 of an inch. There's projects you can do with them, but today I'm going to make the decision to throw them away. These bigger pieces, I am going to stick in my envelope folder bag back here, so I'll have them for another project. He just woke up from an unexpected nap. Wasn't planned, it just happens. All right, so I've got 2, 2, 2, and here. So maybe, what if we did this? Put this here. This here. Try to get it somewhat centered. So that's kind of how the inside would look. Okay, let's go ahead and fold this in half, kind of coaxing it a little bit. Now sometimes these covers will kind of tend to spring open. All I did was I set something heavy on it and it eventually lays flat. This one I think I need to lay something on it again. Heavy bottle, a book, something like that. All right, so I got to look at this and make sure I've got it the right side up, and I do. That's the right side up. Line these up in here, and I'm just going to do a pamphlet stitch and stitch these pages in there. Yeah, if you don't ever use them, there's no reason to keep it, and that's kind of what I find. Now, if I'm in the middle of doing a Franken page setup where I have all the scraps laid out on my desk, and I create one. I may not throw it away right then. I may throw it away at the end of my session. But when I'm not in that mode, I just find that those little bitty scraps just take over. They multiply, and I'm like, I'm so annoyed that these are in my way, and I feel guilty about it. So I'm just going to start throwing them away. I'm trying to get a needle out of here. Of course, they always go to the bottom. All right, got a needle, got my template, got some paper clips. Paper clip this together like so, and we're going to do 3 times the height. So 1, 2, 3. Get my needle threaded so it's ready. This kind of a project, you don't have to completely finish the cover all in one session. You may find that you like it the way that it is because of the papers, and you don't want to put anything else on it. So it's okay to leave it relatively simple. If I were setting up at a craft show sometime soon, I would make a bunch of these because I think I could put them at a reasonable price, still get a little bit of money out of them, but not overprice it so much that, people are like, oh, that's too expensive. As far as I know, Robin's fine. I haven't talked to her in a couple of days because I was gone. So I had taken her to the doctor a week ago, and she had indicated that she was going to try to come to the live stream, but I know that she's still struggling with being able to do the things she wants to do and has a tendency to take naps during the day to help her make it through the day. So it's possible she's taking a nap right now. All right, I'm going to trim this off. Get rid of that. So there's just a quick little mini journal with a few papers, mop-up papers. You can add a bunch more or leave it like it is. I'm going to leave this one like now, the way that it is. And I'm going to grab these papers, which, 1, 2, 3. I got all of those. So we need to cut them at 5 inches and then basically 8 inches. So I'm going to cut this at 5. And since these aren't like a border where I have to worry about did I get the page centered, I'm just going to cut them all as one unit. So I did end up with these little pieces, so I'll put them in my bag. And then I'm going to cut this down to 8 inches, maybe a little bit shorter. Throw that away. Go to 8 inches, a little bit shorter. Okay. So now I'm going to take these pages and fold them in half. I don't know if I'm going to leave the yellow on the outside. I don't know, I kind of like it. So when you open it up, yeah, let's do that. And I've already got a cover here. Do I want one side to be the front over the other? It doesn't really matter. I think I like this lighter green, so I'm going to put it on the front and line up my pages like a pamphlet stitch again. That's what we're going to do. All right. 1, 2, 3. I don't have my good fabric scissors, so my little bitty cutters here are designed for paper. And every time I try to cut fabric, ribbon, the wax linen thread, it does not want to cut through it. All right, so I'm just going to line this up, punch 3 holes. What do you think of this style of making journals? Is that something that would be easy for you to do? Maybe using some of the stuff you already have in your stash. Oh, that's why it's like that. I was like, why is my bag so full? And I forgot that I took those clips, and I thought, well, this would be the best place for them. But they are getting in the way. All right, so I'm going to set this over here. Put these over here again. You know, when you go somewhere else to create, you really have to think about all the things that you want to take with you. And that is a big problem for me sometimes, because I don't know what I'm going to work on until I get there. And I don't plan very far in advance, because I feel like sometimes if you do that and you try to force yourself to do a particular thing, you may not be in the mood to do it. You may not like how you did it. You like them? You like the way they look? So, I mean, don't ever force yourself to do something just because that's, you know, what's next on the list. Do what makes you happy so that you enjoy the process and will want to keep doing what you're doing. All right, so I'm just making sure that this is nice and tight. I think I'm going to look through my ephemera box here and see if there's something we should put on the fronts of these little journals. All right, I use my better scissors. That works so much better. Okay. So we got this one. And we got this one. So I'm just going to kind of put my, of course now it's going to flash out because it's, I don't know why that coloring is so weird. I wonder if I can fix it. Let's see. Is that it? Yes, that's the one. All right, settings, color. I don't know why it doesn't want color. Is it the contrast, the brightness? That seems a little, I wonder if that would work better. Does that seem too dark? Let's see. Because now you can see more of the green that's in here, I think. Okay, let's see if that works. Hello, Mary. Welcome. Okay, so we've got the little things I made. I don't know if any of those would work. I've got, oh, you know what? I wonder if one of these, does that go on there? Or would it be better on that one? I have a smaller one. What do you think of that? I think that's just a quick way to add, is because I made these ahead of time. So maybe what I'll do is look for something that I can use the pink butterfly on in our next one. I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, put that back. And now, do I want to put another mat behind there? I got my sewing machine out. I think I'm just going to glue these down. They look more lindified. They look appropriate now. All right, so this is a painted paper or gel print. And I'm going to glue this on with a beacon glue. I think this is the 3-in-1. I finally finished off the last bottle that I had that was just at the bottom. You know, it just had a little bit left. And I was like, I'm never going to get rid of this. And finally this weekend, I used up as much as I could. And thankfully I remembered to bring extra with me. I think that worked out pretty well. And look, it kind of matches my green nails. Oh, dear. Okay, well, that looks good. I think I'm just going to set this over here with something heavy on it. And let's do this one. And I like the way those turned out, so I may have to dig through the papers. I'm trying to not be totally selective. I'm just grabbing what's on top or what's available. So I may not see anything to go with the pink butterflies unless I pull out a thing that I've already sorted. All right, I'm just going to put this in the middle. Oh, I like it. I like the way that turned out. And it's just a quick little journal. All right, let's put that over here. And I doubt... Well, I could do... No. All right, let's pull out here. Let's see, is it this one? No, I thought I put it right there. Oh, here we go. Let's see. I mean, we could use that one, and I can cover up part of it. So if I were to use this butterfly over the top of that, I think that would look really good. All right, I've got another book page two book pages that I glued together. I'll set this right here for now. Oopsie, almost lost it. Let's put this back over here. I'm trying to be really good about putting my things away. All right, so I've got this, which is 2 book pages glued together. Now I'm folding them in half. I find that it works better if you can allow the glue to dry for a while before you try to fold the paper. But if you're in a hurry, you're in a hurry. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue this closed. I've been, this past weekend, I kept using a piece of paper underneath whenever I was gluing so that I didn't have to keep wiping up my surface. It just makes it so much easier. Okay, so now looking at this, if I place this on here, I want to kind of cover up that bad spot. Okay, so I think if I put it in this corner, that's where this little piece is, and I could put that kind of over it. That's what I'm thinking. Just over it, man. I'm just over it. All right, let's glue this down. We may have to make some mop-up papers, though, to go with my idea. And that's okay to do that, too. Just because I have a whole envelope of them doesn't mean I got to use them right now. That's what I think. Put that away for a moment. Turn the page, use old catalogs. I have a plethora of trash papers. I have a little cubby right over here. So I just kind of stick them in there. And to me, that's just easier than dealing with a book because I don't have a lot of flat surfaces. I've had to get creative. You can ask Robin and my friend Angela and Jennifer finally got to see my room. So it's a little crowded, and I'm still trying different things. You know, all the time I'm trying to decide, okay, well, how can I change this to be better? What would be the better, scenario here? Well, I really need to, my next thing is to redo this side over here. I've kind of done it once, but at the same time, I'm like, I want it to be better. It's not quite there yet. Part of the problem is I've got a piece of wood mounted to the side of my cabinet. And I've had that there because I needed an arm to put the light on that goes over my sewing machine. And the reason it is mounted on the cabinet and not on the sewing machine cart is when you sew, the sewing machine would make the light wiggle. And I didn't like the way the video camera was attached to the light and it was all wiggling. I'm like, I can't have that. So I had to play around with it. Well, when I did that, my little arm interferes with the opening of a drawer that's above it. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I change this? I think, no, that won't work. I was like, oh, I just thought of an idea, but that's not going to work. I may have to make a leg, because right now what I've done is I've got some storage drawers that are the same height. And then I have a piece of wood over the top of that. There's no leg holding that piece of wood up. It's the cabinet or the storage drawers that are holding it up. And if I swap around and made a leg on one side here, I've just thought of an idea where I could move things, swap them around, and then I could open this drawer. That would be so much more handy. All right, so I'm just getting that glued down. Now we'll go around this way. I did not pick something for the inside. Not yet. Now, do we want to look for another gel print? Because that's kind of what I've been using here. Do we want to make something? I don't know. Yeah, it's always something, right? You just get... it never ends. It's like, well, if I did this, or what if I did that, or even with my setup for the retreat, I've got a different style retreat that I'll go to in October, and I have less space than I had this past weekend because they allowed me to have two large tables. And I know at the other retreat, I will get one, I think it's an 8-foot table. It might be 6, but I think it's 8-foot table. And so I have to limit what I can bring. The good thing about that particular retreat is it's going to be in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is about a 30-minute drive-ish from my house. So I will go home every night and sleep in my bed, which will be nice. And if there's something that I wanted to work on, or maybe I finished a project and so I don't need it in my way anymore, I can bring it home every night and get something else. So that's kind of what I'm trying to think of doing in the fall, is creating kind of like a project box or whatever, and in that project box I'll have several things that I'll need my basics stuff. For example, I'll want my stencils, and I'll want my inks, and I'll want some rubber stamps, and I'll probably want my sewing machine. So I've got a basic thing that I want. I think this would look good on the inside, and I can then just grab a project and know that if it is all purple, maybe I went ahead and put some tattered angels, which I used to do in the past. I haven't done in a while. I would go ahead and put the colors that I thought I would want to use to it, all the papers that I thought I wanted to use, the stencils. If I already had the vision, I'll just put it together. So it's all a little bundle that I would just say, okay, today I have these 3 options to work on. But I also have the option, if I'm tired of looking at that I have some plain book pages, I've got some acrylic paint, I have some tattered angels, or I have some scribble sticks. I took scribble sticks this last weekend, but I didn't ever use them. I thought about it. Scribble sticks and some distressed crayons, because I wanted to do some background. So that may be, what I do is set up some book pages that I paint with acrylic paint, so they're ready to go, and this just make a little project bag that my goal is to use this product, just play with this product. I've got to think that way a little bit more sometimes. But I think I might be able to just cut a section that will fit on here. Okay, so if I go like market right here, because this edge looks okay. And I'll stick that back in my bag of scraps. Okay. Yeah, that's just it. That's why I was taking those things with me, because I wanted to play with them, and I hadn't in a while. I think I'm just going to kind of center this. So I thought, well, I'll just take them and play around with them, but I never did. All right, I think I want to go right here and right about there. And I'm marking on the back side in case I don't cut it cleanly, and that way you don't see the mark, because it's going to be on the wrong side. So, in theory, if I did this right, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. I don't know that there's... Yes. Okay, so this is going to be the right side up. I want to add some distress inks to this, and then I'll glue it down. I think there's a lot of people just lurking today. I know that usually Jennifer has an appointment on Mondays. I don't know if that's where she's at right now. And I haven't talked to Margie in a few days. I hope she's okay. I know she spent some time in the hospital, so keep her in your prayers as well as lots of our other friends as well. Okay, so I'm going to lay it this way, and that's going to go here. So I'm going to put, again, because of the painted gel print papers, a little bead around the edge. And then we'll look in my mop-up papers to see if I've got 3 papers that will go. Okay. Different way of making things. Yeah, I hope she's okay too. I know she's been having a rough go at it here recently. One thing about making these little journals in this fashion, because I'm making them all the same size, it makes the decision on how to do the inside quite easy. You just got to get it to measure within your cover. And let's look at the mop-up papers. So I think I've got this one that's on top would go. Let's see if we've got something else that I may have to make some. Some of these are ready for a full 8.5 by 11 journal. Oh, that would go. I think we'll do that one. 8.5 by 11. I think that would go. So that I use the full sheet. So they've got like void areas where I have sprayed something else. So I like to do that on pages like this, and that becomes a journal page easily in your journals. All right, so let's put this in here. I think I'm going to finish this journal, and we're going to call it a night. So we're getting to the end. So I think, do I want that to be the front side? Oh, I like that one. And I think like that. All right, so I know that my journal height is 5 inches for the pages. Oh, I need to open up the arm. 5 inches for the pages. So I'm going to slide that over and go ahead. Do I want the edges? Yeah, let's do that one. 5 inches again. And I'll save those scrappy bits. And then I need this to be just under 8 inches. Those will go in the trash. All right, fold this in half. Well, that's funny. The other side of one of those papers is more teal, but that's okay. I like it. You love this technique? Okay, good. Oh, well, I hope you enjoy it, Linda. And do feel free. I may not see them right away, but if you have questions when you're watching some of my videos, do leave a comment. I'll get it eventually. So I'd love to see what you're working on. So I think that's funny that it had that teal in there. I don't know, this is just a quick way. You don't have to think about a lot of what is going on here. You're just keeping it relatively simple. Keep it simple, special one. We're not going to say the other word. Apparently I am special because I can't get the paper clip off there. There we go. I got this. I got that. I got a needle. I got my template. Okay, so I'm going to put these. I'm so glad that you found me. I hope you enjoy the content. Alright, so now I'm going to put my template in the middle for punching the holes. And if you didn't notice, I have a little bag that says Junk Journal Tools. And I just put all of my binding items back in there. And that way I can find it. It doesn't get randomly put somewhere. If you don't have something now, make up something. I may have some of these in my shop. I don't know. You can go to the dollar store and find a little zipper pouch and then write on it or make a little label and put on it. That way you can find all your tools. All right, let's get that through here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get my other scissors. The scissors that I want. Put that back in there. Then this goes in here. You're very welcome. Glad to have you here. We're all about being friendly. If you are looking for a junk journal community, we have the friendly junk journal people on Facebook. The link should be in the description box of this video, so do feel free to stop by. It's not about self-promotion in that group. It's about sharing what you're working on. So if you want to share a project that you're creating with your junk journal tools and supplies and making, then we'd love to see it. If you like what somebody else is doing, give them a good thumbs up, and of course be friendly in the comments. I am going to keep this little string because I like using them as a faux needle. And then I'm going to close it back up. It fits in there, trust me. All right, and then take the clips off. See, it's all together. And then I know where it is. Of course, now I just pulled my drawer handle off. Come on. All right. You go in here, out of the way. Again, I'll put this under something heavy, but I think this would look really cute right there in the corner. We could add more embellishment to it, but I want to keep these relatively simple. Maybe we'll add some rhinestones and maybe a phrase. Let's see. All right, I'm going to put this kind of in this bottom corner like that. And the others, those had a word and gems. So let's get out the bling and the words and see if there's something. Oh, how about this? I see joy. And it's a small image. So we could put joy. We want to put it like that. Above. On the bottom. In the corner. Maybe I should mat that behind with a piece of black. Maybe. I was looking to see if I had a scrap laying right here. Let's see if there's something. I see a navy piece. Okay. I have this piece. That's a real dark blue. I think it needs to be black. Yeah, definitely a good way to use up gel prints, for sure. All right, I think I have... Here we go. Have some little black. I think the black would be better. So I'm going to glue this and then trim it so that I get the size that I want. So I'm going to do it like that. And then I'll get my paper trimmer. And I think now this would look better in that corner. Yeah? Oh, let's do this bottle. It's heavier. Move those over. Let's go back in here. All right, let's put down the joy. And maybe we'll put some bling on the butterfly. Do like this. Let's see what we got. I have these that are kind of small. And they're still in the package. I've had them for a while. I probably had some already open in the bottom of that bag, but this will work. They're in a string, so what I like to do is just come in here and cut that apart. And then I'll use the blade of my little scissors to pick it up. And kind of place it where the body is. And I'll stick that back in my bag. Put that back in the drawer. Get rid of this one. So there are 3 journals that I made today. What do you think of that? The rotary trimmer, how often do I need to change the blade? I change mine every couple of months because I'm also cutting a lot of paper. The other thing I do, and I need to do it pretty soon, is I rotate this strip. You can, I don't want my fabric scissors over there. This little strip pops out, so you kind of get... I always have a problem whenever I want to show somebody how to do this, but here it is. There's the gap. There's one side that has a gap, and this comes out of most cutters, and then you can rotate it around. It's got basically 4 spots. So I find that if I rotate it, then it cuts better. And then if it's not cutting better, then you need a blade. So I usually just kind of change mine every couple months. All right. So now that'll cut nice and fresh. So there's what I made today, and then this is what I made this weekend. I didn't add any additional embellishments, but you can see where you can spend some time and quickly make a bunch of these little journals to do whatever you want with. You can stick them inside of a larger journal, give them to a friend, pass them along to strangers that you want to brighten their day. Or you can even make up a bunch that you sell if you want. I hope you enjoyed that today. Just kind of sharing. I don't know what I'm going to do next week yet because I'm just kind of playing around with some of my ideas. Would y'all like an ephemera making session? Maybe I can show you in detail a little bit more about how I make those little elements. That could be a project. If that's something you're interested in, do leave me a comment below, and I will see if that's a project we'll do next week. You're very welcome. Yeah, trying to if it's, look at yours and see if it has the ability to turn this around, and just rotate it, use it for a while, and then you'll flip it, rotate it again. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate y'all supporting. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Ephemera making, please. Okay. I think that's what we'll do. Is I need some more things in my envelopes to do stuff like this with, because if you make up a few things, and Angela, my friend, she said, well, how do you know what color to make things? So, well, I have a tendency to stay in the same color palette. These are the things that I enjoy working with. So I will just make things that go with those because I've already got the gel prints. I've got the Mop-Up papers. I've got that color palette already. Now, if I'm working on a special project, I may make some special things for it. For example, I have set aside a bunch of orange yellow papers. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but I have been collecting them to decide what I want to do with that, because that's not my go-to color palette. Okay, so it's got to figure out what do I like that will go with it, and sometimes that takes a little bit longer. But you can make en masse a bunch of pieces that then you can use any way you want on a journal like this, on a journal page, so on and so forth. All right, well, I'm going to get off here. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this session, that it inspired you to create. Get in your stash and make a little bit of something. See what you have that will allow you to be creative and have a good time with your supplies. You never know what someone's going through out there these days, so definitely be kind, because your kindness may be the one thing that elevates their day to a much better place than what it was, and it'll make you feel better too. All right, everybody, give lots of love to all of you. I hope that you are blessed beyond measure, and I look forward to seeing you at the next chat next week, possibly. Y'all take care. Bye, everybody.